Welcome everybody to the ApprovalMax July product update webinar. Alex, can you change the slide, please? Thank you. We're just going to go through our agenda. So we're going to meet our speakers. We'll do a bit of housekeeping. We've got a few polls coming up, and then we're going to demo the features, and there'll be lots of Q&A. So I'm Dee Johns. I'm the head of product marketing here at ApprovalMax. And of course, I'm joined by Alex. Alex, say hi to everyone.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me here today, and I'm happy to present all of these new amazing features. I hope you will really enjoy seeing the way it all works, and you will start adding them into your accounts. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Just before we get started, just want to go through a couple of housekeeping items. Because Zoom takes a lot of bandwidth, could you please close down any other applications that you have running so you get the best experience? As I said before, we want this to be an interactive session, so please ask any questions that you have in the Q&A buttons at the bottom of your screen during the presentation, and our experts will be here to answer them. What we'll also be doing is running a few interactive polls. So we would really greatly appreciate your participation in this, because your insights and your questions will have the webinar be more valuable for everybody. So please don't be shy.
All right. Thank you for the housekeeping, and I think we can get going to the main topic of today's discussion. I believe, and though I've seen a lot of people that are familiar already with ApprovalMax, we've been working together with some of you with many years actually, but also I noticed that we have a lot of people who have not seen ApprovalMax before, who may be just exploring this new world of financial control. So let me briefly tell you a little bit about ApprovalMax, and then we'll dive into all the new amazing features. So what is ApprovalMax? We are a financial control platform allowing customers to build robust AP, accounts payable, and account receivable controls for all of their financial documents. So in case you're thinking about creating a process for approving your bills, that is all possible within ApprovalMax. If we're talking about account receivables, quotes, sales invoices, that is all built into the platform. If we'll take a look, let's say on a Xero marketplace, you will find more than 400 plus 5-star rating reviews from the customers who is using our platform on the day-to-day basis. And I hope some of our customers who is sitting here today in the audience will also tell some of the words how do they enjoy working with ApprovalMax. Speaking of some of the awards and some of our customers, in 2020 and 2021, ApprovalMax became Xero App Partner of the Year. But then in 2023, 2024, we became a finalist for the Global App Partner of the Year. So we're quite proud of these awards. But most importantly, not these awards, not everything that we can see on the marketplace. It's actually our customers. Just recently, we reached a new milestone, which is 15,000 customers across the globe, starting from New Zealand, Australia, Singapore, and so on, all the way to the US and Canada. So that's an intro of what is ApprovalMax. Now let's dive into the main topic of today's webinar, and we'll start with one maybe a smaller feature, and only for those of you who are working with QuickBooks Online. Later we'll go more on the Xero side. And by the way, let me know in the chat section if you're using Xero or if you're using QuickBooks Online. I want to know if there's anyone here who's actually using QuickBooks Online, so make it a bit more relevant to you guys. And the first feature, while you're hopefully writing down in chat section if you're using QBO, the first feature here will be a bill-to-purchase order matching. You might be wondering, because bill-to-PO matching actually been here for quite some time, even for QBO. But we made one major update to that feature because it's been asked many times for all of our QBO customers, and that was like a cumbersome of the whole process. You couldn't make bill-to-PO matching in case you have multiple bills and you have one purchase order. Imagine if you ordered, let's say, 5 or 10 different line items, and you receive the bill just for 1 or 2 of these items. So previously, you could only match this one bill to this original PO, and that will be the end of the story. So that kind of limiting us in terms of how we can match these incoming bills to the original PO. We've changed that, we've heard you, and now we're allowing you to make multiple bill-to-purchase order matching. So if you have one PO for several line items, you can now match all of these incoming bills against all of these line items and really see the full picture. So let's take a look on how does it look like. Some time ago, created the purchase order. As you can see here, it's to ApprovalMax, and I have 3 different line items. ApprovalMax for QBO Standard, ApprovalMax QBO Advanced, and ApprovalMax QBO Premium. So it's all approved, it's already sitting in my QBO account. Now I received bills from my supplier, from ApprovalMax. The first bill came in, it's just for ApprovalMax QBO Standard. The second one is for QBO Advanced, and the third one is for Premium. Previously, if you had that situation, if you do the bill to PO matching, you could only match this one bill against the PO, and that will be the end of the story. What we've changed now, if I'll click on match with PO, it will first of all show me the list of all the purchase orders, just like we've seen before. So let's select the purchase order 1004, the one that I've shown you previously, and let's match that against this line item QBO Standard. So now it's matched. We can see who made the matching, we can see all the details, we can take a look on the purchase order, but now we have another problem, we have another bill for QBO Advanced. What I will do now, again, I will just click on link, select the same purchase order. As you can see, the first line item for QBO Standard is now out of our scope because it's been already matched. So I will select the second one, do the matching, approve the bill, and now I can go to the third one where I will do the same thing. So now I've matched 3 line items from 3 different bills against the first original PO. And of course, that information will be reflected in your QBO account. You'll straight away see which bills were linked against the PO, and you can see how much money was allocated towards that. So that's how the bill to PO matching works for QBO. One of the smaller features, but very essential for our QBO integration. Now let's continue.
Before we go on, is there anybody who has any questions about the bill to PO matching that Alex can answer for you? Looks like there's Q&A part only. That's okay. You can ask some questions in, are you able to ask questions through the chat facility?
It will be very hard because we have lots of comments about the GLs. Actually, I can see even some people are using NetSuite. Oh, that's very interesting. Perfect.
There's a couple of questions. One from Lindsay. Alex, is this feature available to Xero users?
Bill to PO matching for Xero is actually being available maybe from the day one. So you can match as many bills to as many purchase orders in Xero, no problem at all. There is just one limitation for QBO account, that we could only match one bill to one purchase order. With Xero, it's always been the case that you can allocate as many bills to as many purchase orders, and you can allocate the amount from these bills towards the POs. So that's been there forever.
Awesome. And there's just another couple of questions. What if you only had one line item but 2 bills?
Interesting question. So in that case, you would match this one line item to the line item of the purchase order. And in case you want to match another line item to, well, you probably will need to raise another purchase order in order for that to be working. Or just skip that. So it might be that you just don't even need to link this specific line item to the PO. That also can be done. But that's, again, it's up to you how you'd like to process that.
Thank you, Alex. Lindsay's question was actually more about, she meant about line item matching.
Gotcha. Yeah. So unfortunately, well, since there is no such thing as the bill to PO matching on Xero at all, we're doing that internally just within ApprovalMax itself. Therefore, at least for now, maybe sometime in the future, we're going to change that. But for now, it is only a document to the document matching.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Dee, and thank everyone for your questions. I think we can now continue to the next feature, and it's mainly related to Xero. And actually, to be honest with you, it is also not that new. So journal entry workflow been with us for quite some time, maybe for half a year already, but we have one major update to the feature. It's been very much asked from a lot of people. And the reason for this additional feature, and that is an accrual report, which is under beta right now, because if you're starting the whole process, let's say from Dext or maybe from ApprovalMax itself, you might have a long list of bills or purchase orders sitting on approval. And it might be that you simply don't have enough time to, to approve that. You need to close your books. You need to create accrual reports. Previously, the way it could work, you can create some reports and maybe just, approve it as fast as possible. And it was never the most effective way, not the way that you can control the process. Now, with the journal entry workflow, you can first of all assign different people for them to create these journal entries. You can be the person who will actually approve and overview what is going on, and then you can decide if these journal entries should be posted as draft or actually in the journal. So you are in full control of the whole process. And moreover, on top of the whole thing, you can also create accrual reports within ApprovalMax itself, submit them for approval. Once it's all done, they will be automatically appearing in your Xero account. So how does it work? Just select the Xero company. In your Xero company, under your approval workflows, on the bottom of the screen, you will find a Xero manual journal workflow. The way it all works, it's actually quite the same as you've seen before with any other workflows. We have people who is allowed to create these journal entries. You can give access to as many requesters as you want to. And one of the implications for that process might be that if you are an accountancy or bookkeeping firm and you have maybe some junior staff who is preparing journals for the customers, you can give them access to your ApprovalMax account, so they will be able to create these journal entries themselves. But rather than they will be posting that straight away into your Xero account, you will be the person who will take care of maybe all the last changes, making sure that everything is correct before it gets posted into Xero. So you can control the full process before it goes to your general ledger. Now, once you'll activate the workflow, the way it will look like for our users, for those who are allowed to create these journal entries, here on the left-hand side on the main menu, you will find there's a little plus sign right next to the manual journals. And here you can provide all the details about what you would like to post in your Xero account. So what should be the narration? Let's say it will be just test. Maybe it's going to be on today's date. You can leave some notes to your approvers, maybe if you want to make sure that everything is fine. Let's say we're going to create a journal entry for maybe subscriptions for the region North. You can provide details about what's the debit, what's the credit look like. Of course, provide some additional attachments that should be later sent to your approvers and in Xero account. So you have a control over what should be included into the journal entry. And once it's all done, you're just simply submitting that for approval. And now it goes through the approval cycle that you've built in your approval workflow. So now for the person who need to make sure that everything is fine, I will check all the details. I'll make sure that everything is correct. In case I need to communicate back and forth between the person who created the journal entry and myself, I can just use the commenting tool here on the bottom of the screen. And if everything looks good, I will click on approve, and now it goes into my Xero account. You can also select where these journal entries should be sent to. If I'll take a step back into my approval workflows, into my manual journal workflow, and I'll take a look into the settings, here you can decide what should be the posting preferences. Should it be posted as a draft journal entry, or it should be posted, well, as posted. Of course, the reverse can be also done through ApprovalMax. That is all built in straight away. But something very important that I want to show you today actually, wouldn't be exactly about the Xero manual journal workflow. It will be mainly about the accrual reports. So within your built-in reports in ApprovalMax, if you'll open line item reports, you can now build a report and later create an accrual report out of this. So let's say I would like to see all the bills that's still under status on approval. You can provide some additional filters here, maybe all the North bills, which are still pending approval. Then select in the columns what type of information you would like to add into this report. Click on next. That will be our North bills on approval. So what we'll find next here would be a new button called Create Accrual Journal. So provide the details like narration. Let's say it's going to be subscriptions. Select the date, select the accrual account, let's say subscriptions, and decide if the remaining balance should be a net or gross, and just simply create a new account or create a new journal. So now once it is all created, it will be seen just like any other journal entries with all the details already provided to you. You'll find you can make some additional attachments if needed, maybe some additional last changes before it gets posted. But once it's all done, you submitted that for approval, and now it goes just like the previous journal entry through the approval process. And once it is approved, it now posted in your Xero account. So that's in a nutshell the way these accrual reports work. let me take a step back into the presentation.
Awesome. Alex, we have a question from Chris about journal entries. Can you upload monthly journal templates from Excel to ApprovalMax?
Yes, you can actually import files into ApprovalMax. It has to be the same layout as you have in Xero, but you can easily upload the Excel files.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's continue. Actually, next 4 features that I would like to talk about, these are, I think, the most important ones. And the third one, it is the second most anticipated feature ever. If you are familiar with ApprovalMax, you might know that in your profile, you have a link to our voting tool. So you can provide your feedback, you can provide your ideas of what features should be next for us to be developed and released. And the editing for approvals was something that was upvoted many times by all of our customers. So we are very happy that this feature is now available for you, and it's a great way for you to keep control and give permissions to different people on different parts of the document. So what this feature is all about. Editing for approvals, allowing you to edit the request before the actual approval. Let's say, as an example, someone has raised the bill or maybe purchase order. It goes through all of the approval cycles. Maybe it goes to the head of departments first. They see that the amounts are correct, that the things that we're going to purchase are all fine. So they will approve that. It goes now to maybe to the legal department. They will check the contract. They will find that everything is good. They will push it forward to the next approval step. Let's say it will be our CFO. And the CFO, as the senior accountant of the person, senior financial person within the company, spotted the mistake within the account code. Previously, the way it all worked, you would probably will just type a comment. So the person who created the bill will go and edit certain things and then resubmit that for approval. So it will go all the way from the beginning. Or the CFO will just reject this bill. So again, it will be started all from the very beginning. So it was creating a lot of mess, and a lot of companies were just like, hey, just give us an option to edit all of these bills on the fly. And so we can select who should be the person to edit these additional things. So we've heard you, and we've made it all possible. This feature right now is under beta. So if you want to give it a try, just write to our support team. They will be more than happy to enable that for your account. And the way it all works, if we'll go to one of our workflows, let's say to the bill workflow, and I will open my CEO and CFO and CMO step here. And now you'll find additional column called editing permissions. So I want to make sure that Tim, who is our CFO, is allowed to change account codes even if he's under the last approval step. So I will click on editing matrix, and here I can decide what exactly this person is allowed to change. So let's say I'm going to allow him to change account codes, and I can even specify out of which account codes, which ones he's allowed to select. So let's say he can only select out of subscriptions and maybe general expenses. So now, without sending that back to the original requester, Tim will be able to edit account codes on the fly. And that's an amazing feature, especially if you have a very complex workflow, especially if you have senior management on the latest stages and you want to make sure that everything is correct without going back and forth from the requester all the way through all of your approval steps, just to change a very simple thing like maybe account code or something like that. Let me know if you have any questions. I actually would be more than happy if you have a lot of questions on that side.
That's awesome, Alex. That's really great because we do have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Just before we get into the questions, I'll answer. There was a question about whether the recording will be shared. Yes, all of the recording will be shared directly after this in the next couple of days. Alex, we have a question about editing for approval. Good one. Thank you. Pardon. Is this available for sales invoices?
Unfortunately not. So for now, it's only available for bills, purchase orders, and quotes, but that of course might change sometime in the future. So this feature is under beta right now, so we're still testing a lot of these things, and if we'll find that everything is working properly, if there will be a need from the customers to enable that as well for the sales invoices, I cannot see any roadblockers for that. So that's just a matter of time.
We also have another question from Kerry. Is this available in NetSuite?
Not at the moment, unfortunately. So for now, since it's under beta, We've created that just for Xero, so it's not yet available for QBO and for NetSuite. But just like any other feature, we're always testing that with our main bread and butter, with our Xero integration. We're seeing the way it's all being adopted. We see if there's any feedback, if something has to be changed, or we're just making these fine adjustments to make sure that this feature works as best as it possibly can. And later we are rolling out on all of our other integrations. So it's just a matter of time once it will be available for both QBO and for NetSuite. But
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you for that question.
Awesome. And there is just another one. If you are not an approver, can you be allowed to edit codes?
If you're a non-approver,
yes,
well,
from Stephen.
That's a very good question, because actually the next feature that I'll be talking about will be specifically regarding about that. Do we have any other questions before we'll move on to the next one? Because I cannot wait to show you how you can edit some of these things, even if you're not an approver. Let's say if you're an accountant and you just want to make sure that everything is correct.
Lovely, Alex. Our experts are going to answer the other questions online. Thank you.
Perfect. So the next one is actually even, I think, more interesting, because that's the #1 most anticipated feature ever in the history of ApprovalMax, and that's called Review Step. You might be wondering, guys, especially for those of you who've been working with ApprovalMax for quite some time, you could remember that we had the review step historically. If you're under Xero on the first approval step, you had an additional tab where you can select who should be our reviewers. The problem was that it was quite a limited feature. You could only change things like account code, tracking category, item, and if we've enabled that for your account, you could also change the description, but it was also limited to the thing that you have to be an approver in order to make these adjustments to the bills or purchase orders. We've changed that completely, and thank you for your feedback. That's all because of you, because of your feedback, because you've upvoted for that feature. Now this is an additional review step that you can put at the very beginning of the process. And the way it all works, the main benefit of this feature, that you can give access to your users to create, let's say, purchase orders or bills without them even thinking about which account code should be used. You can make this field as optional, and they can just create a bill selecting who is the supplier and what exactly they would like to purchase. After that, they will just simply submit it up for approval. And with the review step, it will always go to you first. Let's say if you are an accountant, you will be able to review the document, see that, okay, that should belong to the account code. Let's say general expenses, the tax code should be X, and the tracking category should be Y. So you will be making all of these changes, and only then you will submit it for approval. Again, maybe for those people who have no idea about the chart of accounts. So the way it all works, if we'll again take a look on our approval workflow, doesn't matter if we're talking about the purchase order workflow, bill workflow, it's actually available also for the sales invoice workflow. So again, speaking about the previous feature, it will be available, I believe it will be available for the sales invoices as well, because the review step is available for that already. So the way it all works, in the middle of the process, in the middle where you have people who's allowed to create the requests, and between your actual approval steps, you can click now on a plus sign, and you will find there is an additional option to add the review step. That could be anyone from the company. Let's say if you are an accountant, maybe not even without the team, you can just add yourself to be the person who is allowed to make all of these changes to the requests. And if I'll update the workflow right now, I can allow my people who is allowed to create these new requests to maybe make the field as an account code optional, maybe taxes should be optional, so they can just select the supplier and what exactly they would like to purchase. And now me as a reviewer, I will be able to make all of these changes. The most important and I think the most funniest fact, let me just restart some of these jobs here. If I'll now take a look on additional menu in my left-hand side, it's called My Review Required. Well, I don't have anything here that requires my review, but let's quickly create a new bill and submit it for approval. Let's just select it's going to be ABC Furniture, and let's purchase some golf balls. So now, once I've submitted this request for approval, as you can see now, it contains the status on review, meaning that me as the person who is the accountant within the team, it's not really that I'm doing any approvals, I'm just making sure that everything is fine to me on the request. And I can make some edits let's say the account code should not be purchased, but rather it should be, let's say, general expenses. I will make those changes, submit it for approval. And if I'm happy with the review, I can now click on submit for approval. So now it will go to one or many of my approvers. One question that might arise, do we keep track of all of these changes? Because imagine if I am a person who wants to purchase these golf balls. I've selected everything that I wanted, now I've submitted that for approval, and now my accountant just goes ahead and select and change everything here. All the items, all the account codes, so it's now a completely different bill. So what we're doing here in ApprovalMax, we keep a full history of the request. So whenever it's been reviewed, whenever any changes were made, it will be always kept within the history itself. So if I'll now send that back to the review, maybe make some other changes, we will find that we have a history of all of these different changes, knowing who exactly made those changes and why these changes were made. So we're submitting for approval. Submitted for approval. So let's say I will go to approve that. And let's say on the bills, I have several bills where I have a history. I just cannot find which one was on that. So let me just maybe try this one. General expenses. Okay. So, any questions on the review step?
Yes, Alex, we have. One from Amy. At review step, can budget checking happen?
Budget checking actually happens on the next stage, or on the actual approvals. If I'm not mistaken, Sivara, if you could maybe let me know if the budget checking works on the review step, because I'm not sure that it's part of the review step.
No, it's not. It's only available on the approvals.
The approvers, correct. Thank you, Sivara.
Brilliant. We have a question from Elena actually about the editing for approval. Is it possible for approvers to edit contact, date, and reference fields?
Yes, if you allow them to change those things.
Awesome. And there's another one for the requester step. Can a requester edit a purchase order after submitting for approval or review, or is it still restricted?
The requester actually always had a chance to edit the bill or the request that they've submitted for approval. So if you've, for some reason, decided that certain things are wrong within the request, you still will be able to edit that, though it will restart the process from the beginning. So it's not like you are an accountant within the company who make these last minor changes. If you are the person who created the request, you need to change something, you just click on edit, it takes everything back to the beginning of the process. But yeah, it's always been there that the requester himself can change his own requests.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Alex.
Thank you. Now, the last two features, these are actually not even the features. These are two new products. So the first one, you might have heard about it already. It's called the ApprovalMax Capture, and that is our own built-in OCR solution. The reason why we've decided to create these products these days, because we wanted to make sure that our customers are having the best user experience possible without going anywhere else. So having single logging for the full process all the way from the very beginning, we'll just simply extract the data from our invoices and then going later to the approval process and then later to the payments. So these two new products, the first one is ApprovalMax Capture, is an add-on to your core product. It can be added to each and every plan. Doesn't matter if you're on standard plan, advanced, or premium plans. These could all be added to your account. The way it works, you can just upload it as a single document or in bulk. We have built in straight away from the day one a line item extraction, so you don't need to think about any plan within the OCR tool for your line extraction, because we have pretty much just one single plan and it's all included straight away. Very soon, it will be available in addition to the whole core product, a mobile snap and go. Actually, it's already available within the product in some of the other way. We're just not yet announced that because we still want to make some final changes, some final tweaks. Same goes with the dedicated email inbox. It is already built in the product. We're just not yet announcing that, but I will show you how it all looks like. So ApprovalMax Capture is a great way for you to have one single source of truth where you will uploading all of your bills for extraction, and then it will go through the approval process. Before maybe we'll continue to the demo, Dee, if you could maybe run a poll so we would understand how our audience, which tools they're using at the moment.
Yes, of course, just coming up now. So if you can, if everybody can be run the poll, that'd be fantastic. Answer. Oh, we're getting lots of questions, lots of poll answers. Dext seems to be coming in at 40%, Alex.
Yeah, I'm not surprised on that.
Xero manually is a very close second at about 25%. We'll just give it a couple of more minutes. So please let us know if you want to enter the poll.
Funny enough, we have one person who selected choice number 4.
I know, yes. Oh, we used Data Million, I see, that's not entered in the poll. So thank you very much. If you're using something else, please put it in the chat for us. What I'll do is just end the poll now, and we can get the results. And I'm just going to share the results on screen. As we can see, Alex and everybody, there was Dex just come in at 39%, which is the biggest option. Xero manually has come in at 25%, Xero entering bills at 10%, and directly into ApprovalMax has beat the Xero bill entering at 13%.
And interestingly, Xero manually and directly into ApprovalMax, if we combine that, that would be pretty much exactly the same as for Dext. So we have like 50-50% division between these two options. Hopefully, after today's demo, you will change your opinion and start maybe using ApprovalMax Capture and find it much more helpful than just manually importing data into Xero or into ApprovalMax. So thank you for your answers within the poll. Let's now take a look on ApprovalMax Capture. So something that I've mentioned previously, it is a built-in product. It's an add-on, so you don't need to have any extra logins. You don't need to have any extra product added into your account. It is already within the account itself, and you can already give it a try. If you're the first and not just start using ApprovalMax, you will find that already within your free trial. If you're an existing customer, you can just enable a all trial feature option, and that will enable this 100 free usages of ApprovalMax Capture for you. So in order for us to give it a try, you might have already noticed one thing before when I was editing the bill in the previous feature. But if I'll try to create a new bill, you will find now additional form, which is called the ApprovalMax Capture. Because previously you could only upload the bill as the regular attachment and then manually provide the data, who is your supplier, what is your due dates, all of your line items. So we can speed up this process a bit more, and we can just simply take an invoice that we would like to extract. I have already 5 line items here. I have some details about who is the company, what's the date, what's the reference number. So let's see if that will extract the data for us. Typically it takes around 5 to 15 seconds depending on the complexity of the document. And very, very soon we should see that all the data is actually already here in our account. So we can see that it's extracted the supplier name correctly because I do have this supplier already in my ApprovalMax account. I have my dates, I have my due dates, I have my reference number, and I have all of my line items. One thing that you might notice that we of course don't have any account code here or any tracking category here. And the reason behind that, well, of course, because simply there is no account code on the invoice itself and you need to provide these details by yourself, but also because we've heard 2 completely different feedback about that. So first of all, in case you want to select this supplier code by yourself, let's say account code for super duper company should be always general expenses, you can of course just do that manually here, and we will learn from your previous interactions. So if you've submitted the bill, you've selected the general expenses for that specific supplier, next time you will submit the bill from the same supplier, we will already know which account code should be used. Same goes with your tracking category, so then you won't need to do that again. So that's one opinion from a group of our customers. The second opinion from a group of our customers is that, is it possible just not do that at all? Because we don't want our users to think about these account codes at all. We just want them to, to extract the data from their invoice and just submit it for approval. Of course, that is possible. Within your requester matrix, you can make these fields as optional, just like I will do right now. So just let them submit these bills as it is. And now with our previous feature, with the review step, it will go to me as I'm an accountant, I can take a look. All right, so everything is fine to me here. All I need to do now is to click on edit and add all of these account codes. So I will go ahead and do that manually here to all of my documents. So that's how we can deal with both of these situations. And of course, that is up to you which is the preferred option for you. So that's how we're going to upload that in case we want to just drag and drop it, or maybe if we just want to upload the data. In addition to that, within your approval workflows, if you'll take a look on the bill workflow and into the settings, it is not yet announced yet, so we're still doing some tweaks to the whole process, but all the way to the bottom of the screen, you will find capture via email function. It is already here and you can already give it a try. You can create your own mailbox within ApprovalMax, let's say finance@mail.approvalmax.com, and you can just give this email address either to your suppliers or to your users, so they will be able to submit all of their bills via email to capture. Please note, for a couple of weeks, we'll be still doing some testing. We'll be doing some tweaks for the whole thing, but it's already here. Same goes with the mobile Snap and Go. It is actually already within our newest version of the app, but again, we're still testing that, so we'll be more than happy to hear your feedback on the way it all works. So that is ApprovalMax Capture. Any questions?
Alex, we have a couple. One from Amy. Is there an option to have the account codes on the bills automatically populated from the PO matching?
Not really. So it's actually, so these are two separate processes. Even if you're doing the bill to PO matching, it won't automatically apply these account codes from the PO. So you'll need to go and do that yourself.
Awesome. And there's another one from Daniel, this time for capture. Are you able to set up supplier rules for coding, department allocation, and VAT rate?
I see where this question is coming from. Like you're probably used to that in Dext, where you can set up rules. In ApprovalMax, we're actually learning from the previous interactions, so you won't be able to set up the actual rules to these suppliers. But if you previously applied an account code, or let's say a department code for that specific supplier, we will do that automatically next time you're uploading an invoice from the same supplier. So we're learning from these interactions. And it might be that for certain suppliers, you know that it's going to be an account code, maybe entertainment, all of the time. So during the capture process, you're selecting that it's going to be, entertainment. Later, we'll be always applying that. If for some reason, maybe for Amazon, it might be that you might have 10 different account codes for 10 different line items. Just keep this field as blank, just submit it for approval. So later on during the review step, you will be able to apply the different account codes. So then we won't learn from the previous interaction. And next time you will be able to manually apply different account codes for different line items.
Lovely. There's just one more from Dell. If the supplier's invoice has a separate VAT line, how does ApprovalMax Capture retrieve the tax amount?
I believe it's coming from the Canadian, when you have regional and I forgot what's the another one. You have regional and something else on the tax codes. Could you please repeat the question once again?
Oh, I just took it off the screen actually. It's about the VAT. Does it do VAT lines separately?
So yeah, of course. So we are reading mainly on the actual line items, but the tax amount is on a separate thing. So within your total amount, you'll have, if it's been, depending on which one you've included, if it's tax inclusive. So you have separate lines on the bottom of the screen with the total amounts.
Lovely. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. All right, coming to the last but not least amazing feature, amazing new product, and that is ApprovalMax Pay. Currently, it's under beta, so I have to mention that, and later we'll have additional information about that, but let me explain you what is it all about. So we spoke about this all new product, ApprovalMax Capture, where you can start the process of submitting the document, when it will extract all the data, all of your line items, and then push it through to your approval process. Previously, once the bill is fully approved, that's where ApprovalMax would stop its work, and it will you can do whatever you want after that. You can either use some of the third-party payment providers, let's say like Celeru or something else. You could simply export the batch from your Xero file and import that into your bank account. There are many different ways how you can pay for your bills. We wanted to make it simpler and much more effective, and third of all, most importantly, much more secured. So you'll have again a single source of truth, single platform where you will extract the data, approve it, and pay for these bills. So that's why we've created an ApprovalMax Pay solution. So you won't need to leave ApprovalMax. You can connect your bank directly to your ApprovalMax account, and only certain people, based on your workflow, will be allowed to authorize these payments. So before we'll continue to the demo, we have another poll for you, just to understand what is the current situation for the audience here in the webinar. And if you could please run the poll. Yeah. So how do you pay your bills?
Oh my gosh, there's a few people right out of the gate. Individually, directly through the banking app, is coming in at 38%. Batch files, it's almost line to line with batch files exported from Xero or QuickBooks. Individually directing through a bank app, is it at 48% now?
That's
we'll just
amazing.
give it a couple of more minutes. Couple more minutes until we end the poll. 47% for directly. I'm just going to end the poll now and share the results.
So that's quite interesting, actually. So I thought that the division will be a much different. So I thought it will be more towards the third-party payment apps, but it's kind of surprising to have individually and batch file exported, because both of these options will require you, to take this batch, export that somehow, then go into your bank account, import the whole data, maybe sometimes to manually type all the information. It might take quite some time to do the whole thing. So I'm very happy to see these results, because let's dive into demo and let's see the way it all works in ApprovalMax and how it might help you to, first of all, save some time, but secondly, you can give additional layer of control over the payment process, the most crucial process of the whole thing. So if I'll take a step back and into my account, I will show you ApprovalMax Pay, the way it all works with a real bank account. So our head of payment solutions gave access to his bank details, and with actual money, so we can make actual payments. So you'll see how it all works from the very beginning. So I guess let's purchase pizza for everyone. How many people we have here? Okay, just joking. The whole process of ApprovalMax Pay, it's pretty much consists out of three major elements. The first element, we can connect our bank account to our ApprovalMax organization. So now we'll be able to make payments through here. Let me actually remove the account from here so you will see the way it all works from the very, very beginning. There are a couple of limitations. As for now, ApprovalMax Pay will only work with the UK-based banks who supports open banking technology, and only for the domestic payments. So if I'll add a new bank, it will show me that it's only available for United Kingdom. Then within the list of banks, we already have quite a long list, and if something is missing, let's say your specific bank is missing from here, just let us know and we can later add it into our solution. So what I'm going to do, I will use Wise. The only thing I will need to do right now is to scan the QR code or log in via my desktop app and authorize my bank to ApprovalMax. So once the connection is established, I can see that on my mobile screen. Here in ApprovalMax, the screen will be automatically refreshed. So the only thing I will need to do right now is to select corresponding bank account in my Xero file. I will need to match these bank accounts. So later, once the transaction is successful, we will send the batch into your Xero file, and you will be able to reconcile that against the bank feed. So in my case, I'm going to use the Wise GBP, and we're not going to use actually Euro. So let's remove it completely. Now, once we have our bank account, once it's matched against the bank account in Xero, the most important step would be is to provide payment details. If I'll take a look on my main menu, all the way to the bottom of the screen, we will find there are contact details. We'll bring the list of your suppliers into this list. So for some of these suppliers, you can see that I have financial details which are taken from your Xero file. Have bank account, have sort code, have bank account number. The thing about ApprovalMax, and that is a very important thing, that we keep payment details within ApprovalMax itself, and you will need to create these payment details yourself, because we have an internal fraud prevention tool called the traffic light system. You can assign in your user section who is allowed to see the list of the payment details, who is allowed to add these new payment details, and who is allowed to edit those payment details. And that's very important because some people, especially at the beginning of the process, might be adding these, payment details where the money should be sent, but editing these payment details, that's a bit of a tricky situation. If you're editing these payment details, it might potentially be a fraudulent situation. So you want to give this access to only very specific people from your team. And once you've assigned these different permissions for your users, you can now add the payment details yourself, provide the account name, sort code, the bank account number, all of those things. If you're allowed to edit the permissions, you can click on edit and change things from there. And we will keep a history of all of these edits. And later during the actual approval process, when you will be able to check the payment details, you can actually see who made these last changes, what time, and that will give you much better information about what is going on, so you have an ease of mind where you're actually sending your money. So once we've added all of our payment details to our suppliers, the third step of the whole process would be your batch payment workflow. You'll find it out of the list of your workflows. The way it works, it's quite the same as we've seen before with any other workflow. We have people who is allowed to create these batches. You can assign them to only work with specific bank accounts in case you have more than one. You can do that same for your suppliers. Then we have people who is allowed to approve the batch. So these are not necessarily people who is allowed to authorize the payment, but it might be someone from the maybe accountancy team who will be making sure that the payment details are correct. So we actually need to pay to this supplier. So you can do that from here. And once these guys will approve this batch, now it will go to the last step, where we have people who is actually authorized to make the actual payments. So we can really create a segregation of duties for the people who's allowed to create bills, approve them, then create batch out of bills, and approve these batches, and who can actually authorize the payments. So all of these process creates, different checkpoints. Who is allowed to do what? So then you won't have one person doing everything and maybe doing some kind of sneaky situations when they will be changing payment details to their own and making these fraudulent activities within your account. You can keep control over that process. Now, once the process is built, once we build the workflow, the way it will look like for our users, again, we can just simply create the batch payment from our left-hand side, or we can take a bill that were already approved in our account, and you will find there's a Pay with ApprovalMax button. But what I will do, I will just simply create a new batch payment. I will select which bank account should be used. In my case, I have only one, so that will be the only option for me. And then I will add bills. I have only one bill here, but of course you can add as many bills to your batch payment as needed. That's up to you. And once it's all added, you have information about, first of all, what is the amount due? You won't be able to pay more than you have amount due here, but you can pay less, let's say 0.3. You can check the details from the original receipt, from the original invoice against the payment details here. And here, something that I've mentioned before, that this payment details was created by Anton on 3rd of July 2024, and I can see that no updates since creation. So we keep track over the full life cycle of your account on of these payment details. So if I'm sure that Anton is the person who created these payment details, there is no updates to these payment details, I can now simply submit it for approval, knowing that there will be no fraud occurred with these payments. Now, once it is all submitted for approval, now it goes to me as the person who needs to approve this batch. Something that I've mentioned before, we have this traffic light system where you have green flag if you've paid to this contact before and no changes were made to the payment details. It is what we can see from here. You have paid to this contact before. If we're doing that for the first time, it will show you the yellow flag. So it's the first payment. Just make sure that all the details are correct, that you compare one thing to another, that there will be no changes. Or if you're paid to that supplier before, but then someone who has access and permission to edit the payment details, they've made the change, you will find it will be shown as the red flag. It will highlight what has been changed, maybe account code or the sort code. So now it is something for you to decide if you're going to proceed with the payment or just be super cautious about what should be our next steps. Maybe you need to communicate back to the person who made those changes. But in my case, everything is green flag, everything is good. So I will just simply approve that. And now it came to the last stage. Now it came to the stage where I'm authorized to make the actual payments. So if I'll click on Pay with ApprovalMax, it will again show me the QR code, or I can log in via desktop app. I will scan it. It will take me to my bank account, where I will need to authorize this transaction. So it's now authorized here, and in a moment, it will be automatically updated within ApprovalMax itself. So now, as you can see, payment has confirmed. So what will happen next? If I'll take a step back into the payment summary, as you can see here, I have a payment status processing. So we are talking now with your bank account. Once the bank is processed the payment, we will receive a push notification about it. Automatically, we will retrieve that information back to ApprovalMax, and the payment status will be, well, either paid or failed if for some or the other reason bank decided that this transaction cannot be happened. But within maybe 10 to 15 seconds, we will retrieve information about this transaction. Of course, just like with any other requests, if we're approving the purchase order, if we're approving a bill, if we are approving the batch payment, we're providing you with the audit report showing who created the request, who approved the request. So you have all of that information provided over to you. Same goes here on the bottom of the screen within the audit trail. So let me see if my bank already processed this transaction. All right, so we can see now it is being paid. I've just received a push notification on my phone. So the status has changed as well to paid. We can see when the transaction has happened, with all the information provided to us. If I'll refresh the page now, we will also find additional link which will lead us straight to our Xero account. So if I'll open this in my Xero account now, just yeah, two-factor authentications everywhere. Okay, it will take some time to proceed with that. We get the idea. So once we'll open that in Xero, it will take us to the batch payment within the Xero itself. So then we can easily just go to the bank account. Once the bank feed will be pushed into our Xero file, we can just simply reconcile one thing to another. So something that I've mentioned, I'll take a step back. Something that I've mentioned, this product is now under beta. We still do have some free slots if you want to give it a try, if you want to play around with ApprovalMax Pay. So if you want to give it a try, if you want to roll into our beta program, we will send a link. So let us know if you want to give it a try, and let me put the slideshow on. And if we have any last questions, because I see that we are running out of time, it seems like.
Yes, Alex, we're 5 minutes to go. We have a couple of questions. I've just put the link in there for the beta program for ApprovalMax Pay that Alex was talking about. So please, if you'd like to go to the website and enroll in that. From Jacques, can you submit bulk payments?
Good question. So right now, actually, not really. So the way this open banking technology works, each transaction has to be authorized separately. What we're doing in recent week or two, so we'll also made an update. Especially if you're part of the beta program, we'll give you an additional update. If you're doing a bulk payment to the same supplier, you will be able to merge that into one single line and authorize it as just one single payment. And we will later send the batch into your Xero account, so you will be able to reconcile that. So my advice would be, if you want to make the bulk payments, to create these batches based on the supplier level. You have maybe several different bills from the same supplier, then you will be able to make it as just one go. If we're talking about different suppliers, unfortunately, the open banking technology just simply won't allow you to do so. You'll need to authorize it separately.
Lovely. We have another question from Becca. How does this work when two people need to authorize a payment within the banking app?
That will work actually quite the same. So you're just logging into your account and you just need to authorize it, well, by two people. So the process is actually quite the same. The whole authorization process happens on the bank side.
Lovely, thank you. Alex, I'm just looking for, there was another question. How could you carry out checks on the bank details for suppliers? From Michael.
Checks, not sure the way it all works with checks. Actually, on that question, I probably won't give you any information. So, because it's all happens on just pretty much the whole connection, the whole product works in a way that you're just connecting your bank account, and within the bank itself, I'm not sure how you can, because I haven't seen the way it all works with checks actually. So
Thank
you
you,
need
Alex.
to
That's
come back.
okay. I actually read that question from Michael as in relation to how do you verify bank details for suppliers as opposed to checks as in written checks. There's a verification banking details in ApprovalMax Pay. Is that correct?
So yeah, that's if we're talking about that. So you will just be adding these payment details by yourself within ApprovalMax itself. So we'll be using the payment details that you've applied into ApprovalMax. We are storing over there. So that's the main verification.
Awesome. And then there's just one more question. We have one more question from Stan. Will Pay Beta be available in Australia?
Hopefully, I believe so. So that's, that's the start, the very beginning of the new big journey. So we're starting with the UK just simply because the open banking technology, that's just the easiest way for us to understand the way it all works. But definitely once it will be tested here, we'll be moving forward to other markets and other currencies as well. So we definitely should be expecting that for Australian markets and maybe other markets as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. We've only got a couple of minutes left, so I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. We hope that these updates will save you time and money while improving your processes. So thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you at our next updates. And just as a reminder, we will send this recording through to everybody that attended today.
Perfect.
Lovely.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your amazing questions, and I hope to see, among people who are trying and giving us feedback about these new features. Thank you so much.